Hello and welcome back to The Analyst by Vajiram and Ravi, dated 11th May 2025. In today's session, we will cover 7 important topics that are gaining national attention and are highly relevant for both your prelims and the mains examination, featured prominently in today's edition of The Hindu and The Indian Express newspapers. Our first topic is Judicial Pendency in India. We will explore the current status of case pendency in Indian courts, the factors contributing to this backlog and the measures that can be taken to address this challenge. Then in our second topic, we will take up an important statutory body, that is National Green Tribunal or NGT. We'll understand the structure and the mandate of NGT as a specialized judicial body dealing with environmental matters. We'll also look into its significance and some associated concerns related to its functioning. After that, in our simplified section, we'll take up 5 articles and we will try to explain them in simplest language possible to enrich your understanding of the newspapers. Additionally, we have also incorporated some prelims pointers which is going to be very crucial for your upcoming prelims 2025 examination. So have a look on them also and stay tuned. So let's start our discussion with the first topic, that is judicial pendency in India. The context of this topic is that the Delhi High Court as of now functions at 60% of its sanctioned strength, and that is the reason in one of the court order of April 25, the Delhi High Court flagged the overflowing dockets and they have admitted that it is unable to decide appeals within reasonable period of time. And what exactly this overflowing dockets phrase means? It means the court schedule that is too full, means the number of cases that are assigned to a court or a judge is too much as compared to what they can hear in a time-bound manner. And when the too much cases are assigned to a particular judge or particular court, and when they are not able to hear that, obviously it will lead to judicial pendency or the backlog of the cases. And this particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 2, judiciary, alternative dispute redressal mechanism, as well as e-governance. So what is the current status of Delhi High Court? This Delhi High Court, which was established by Delhi High Courts Act of 1966, has a sanctioned strength of 60, but as of now only 36 sitting judges are there in the Delhi High Court. And if you talk about the population burden, less than 1 High Court judge per 10 lakh people is there. Around 0.6 High Court judge per 10 lakh people. That gives us an idea about the high judicial vacancies that are there, as well as the high burden of the cases that each judge is facing. Also, in the last discussion, we have talked about the collegium system, where we have seen the number of recommendations which were made by the collegium to be appointed by the president as the judge of respective high courts. All the names were not cleared. Some names were either pending before the government or they have rejected those names out of some apprehensions. So this system of appointment of the judges in the high court, that collegium recommends, then again governments appoints. So all this system which takes lot of time, and when the executive and judiciary are not on the same page, that is again one of the reasons of this high judicial vacancies as well as high pendency of cases. Also, the caseload pressure, if you talk about the Delhi High Court, the judges often have to hear 80 to 100 matters on a daily basis, and many still remain unheard after 5 p.m. And if you think about the official hours from 9 to 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., if a particular judge is hearing 80 to 100 matter on a daily basis, just think about the quality of the judgments that will be coming and the time that the court or the judge will be able to give on each matter because of the caseload pressure that they are facing. Also, in March 25, new cases outnumbered the disposals, especially in the criminal and the civil writ cases. If you talk about this data of the 31st March 2025, there are 33,648 civil writ petitions that are pending before the Delhi High Court, and there are 33,577 criminal side cases pending before the Delhi High Court. Now let's look into the overall judicial architecture. So as per the National Judicial Data Grid, this is the most updated data that you will find in the public domain. In the Supreme Court of India, 81,773 cases are pending as of March 2025. And in the High Courts of India, more than 62,99,807 cases are pending as of March 2025. And when we talk about the District Courts of India, more than 44 crore 61 lakh 98,628 cases. More than 4 crore cases are pending in the district courts. So overall, if we talk about the district courts, high courts as well as the Supreme Court, more than 5 crore cases are pending before the judiciary. What exactly are the reasons for this high pendency of the cases? The most important is the insufficient judges, that the judicial vacancies that are very high. For example, 21 judges per million people is the data of the 2023 as per the Department of Justice report of 2023, and as per the Law Commission report of 1987, it should be ideally 50 judges per million population to hear all the cases in a time-bound manner. So you can say that we are working with 50% of the ideal strength which was recommended by the Law Commission. And obviously when the judicial offices are vacant, when there are no judges who can hear the cases, it will lead to judicial pendency. Also, the increased litigation as the economic growth is increasing. More than that, when the economic inequality is increasing, the social tensions are rising. So when the social tensions are rising, new law and order situations are increasing, obviously it is leading to new type of crimes as well as new crimes happening in the society. That is again leading to overall case burden. When the economic burden is increasing, obviously the civil suits or the corporate litigations are also increasing. So 77 lakh new cases and insubordinate courts are coming on a yearly basis with a 3% yearly increase due to population growth and the socio-economic disputes that are happening. For example, high number of divorce cases, high number of cases related to the family matters, personal matters, etc. And this is the data of the National Judicial Data Grid 2024. That is the number of cases that are mounting in the district courts. Another important factor is the lack of infrastructure. For example, as per the Department of Justice, there are more than 24,280 judicial officers who are working in India. For them, only there are 20,143 court halls. That includes 620 rented halls. That means even we do not have proper court halls where the judicial officers can sit and hear the cases properly. Even for all the 24,280 judicial officers, we do not have a separate courtrooms. Also, the 26% of the court complexes do not have separate ladies' toilets and 16% do not have the toilets for the gents even. And the 5% have the medical facilities and 32% have the separate record room. That means around 68% do not have the separate record rooms where the records of the court can be kept properly in a safe manner. Also, the 51% only have a library facilities. Also, the 27% have a court on the judges' dais with video conferencing facility. And this is the case when we have gone for the e-courts project, as well as the video conferencing facility has been provided in various courts so that whatever the hearing is happening, that can also come in public domain. Also, the overuse of special leave petition which is provided under Article 136 of the Constitution. Apart from that, the public interest litigation which are filed before the courts. Again, when these kind of mechanisms which are provided by the courts to actually look after some important issue, but there are several frivolous PILs that were filed before the Supreme Court, before other courts, and when these kind of the PILs, special leave petitions, are filed before the courts, obviously it creates a burden on the judiciary. Then the government litigation. Government is again a party, an important party in all the litigation, all the pending cases that are there. Whether it is the executive overreach or any of the law which has been passed by the government or any of the constitutional amendment which are done by the government. For example, recently Waqf Amendment Act was done. Now again there is a hearing that is going on in the Supreme Court. There is a matter pending before the Supreme Court. So whenever any law which is passed by the government, then again people file the cases with the courts. So how we can actually address this issue, that whenever any law is being passed by the parliament or it is being passed by the government, there should be a proper feedback mechanism from the stakeholders, whatever the stakeholders that are involved, even from the public, so that all the apprehensions of the society can be addressed properly, and that will obviously reduce the litigation. Another important reason for this high pendency of the cases is the insufficient scheduling. That is the scheduling of the cases that are being done. They are not considered properly, that who are the clients, who are the people, stakeholders that will be available, that would be available in the court at that point of time on that day. Apart from that, this culture of the adjournment, that where the advocates generally go for asking or requesting the judges for adjournment of the cases. and which again leads to pendency of the cases and the long duration of the final disposal of the cases. Then the procedural inefficiency, that whenever a case is being filed, all the investigation that was done, that is not proper. The evidence collection is not proper. The police is not doing its function properly because they are overburdened. They have to do the bandobast duty. They also have to look into various dignitaries that will be coming in that district, and they also have the burden of the investigation. So in that case, police find it very difficult to fulfill their duties properly. And when they are doing mistakes, that they are not filing charge sheets properly, they are not using proper laws in the cases properly, there is lack of proper evidences, obviously it leads to delay in the cases, and which wastes the important time of the court. So what are the initiatives that are taken to address this pendency of the cases? First important is the Supreme Court Portal for Assistance in Court Efficiency, that is SUPACE, which is an AI-powered tool to assist judges or the legal researchers with the relevant case data. And it provides comprehensive case references for the informed decision, that if any court is taking a decision on any matter, so they will have sufficient amount of information that what are the Supreme Court judgments on this matter, which can be referred by the particular High Court and which can lead to a proper judgment in a time-bound manner. Then the Supreme Court Vidhik Anuvad software, or the SUVAS, which translates the Supreme Court judgments into the regional languages, and that helps the regional benches as well as that helps the High Court benches and the district courts, because they will be able to understand the nitty-gritties of that order, the Supreme Court order, in the regional language in a better manner. So it enhances the accessibility of the legal documents for the non-English speakers. Then the live streaming, which was started, which broadcast the court proceedings in a real time, and Gujarat High Court became the first court to live stream proceedings, and Supreme Court allows streaming for the constitutional cases which are heard by at least 5 judges of the Supreme Court. So in the matter of constitutional cases, the live proceedings of the court are given on the YouTube as well as the website of the Supreme Court. Then the e-courts project, which digitizes the court processes for efficiency and the transparency. The phase 3rd will start from 23 to 27, and it was launched with 7,000 crore budget. It covers 100% digital case tracking, and the virtual courts are also established so that the disposal of the cases can be done in a time-bound manner. But what exactly is the need of what should be done to address the issue properly? First of all, we need to address the judicial vacancy, and for that most important thing that we can do is the reform in the collegium system, because that will ensure that executive and the judiciary is on the same page before recommending the names or before recommendation of names of different judicial officers from the collegium. The executive will also have a say. So that will lead to, and that will ensure that these names which are recommended, they are being appointed in a time-bound manner without much delay from the executive. Also, second important thing is the efficient investigation and the prosecution, and which was also said in the Prakash Singh judgment, where they have said that the investigation department should be kept separate from the rest of the duties of the police forces. There should be a dedicated police force especially for the investigation, because it takes time, it takes a lot of efforts to do a proper investigation to ensure there is proper evidence collection is happening. Because when proper investigation will happen, proper evidence collection will happen, court will find it much easier to give a judgment on any one particular case. Then there is need for ramping up of infrastructure. There can be separate budget allocation that can be done for this, and that can actually help in ensuring that there are proper courtrooms with the proper facilities, proper digital integration that can ensure that judgments are coming in a time-bound manner. Then the All India Judicial Service. Under Article 312 of the Constitution, the Rajya Sabha have a power that with the special majority, they can go for asking, or they can create an All India Service. As we have the Indian Administrative Service, Indian Police Service, similarly, All India Judicial Service can come. And when these people there will be a sufficient pool or sufficient number of judicial officers with the All India Judicial Services, who will be first appointed in the district courts and subsequently they will be promoted to High Courts and the Supreme Courts. This issue of the judicial vacancies can be addressed very well. And this was recommended by the Law Commission as well as various other important stakeholders. Also, there should be a strict timeline for the government litigation, that in what time that case related to the government should be disposed. Because generally what happens, that any of the case when it was disposed, the last hearing happened, even then the courts take a lot of time to give a judgment. Obviously, to write a proper judgment, to write a proper court order, it takes a lot of time. And that is the reason there is need for proper technological integration, there is need for proper technology, as well as amicus curiae, etc., which are helping the courts. They should also give proper support that the judicial officers can give their judgments properly in a limited time. So there can be strict timeline on the government litigation. More than that, there can be a timeline that for any of the executive actions, what can be the timeline within which the court proceedings can start, or any of the PIL, etc., can be filed. Also, alternative dispute resolution mechanisms like mediation, etc., needs to be promoted. As of now, we do not have a proper infrastructure for that. So when these kind of ADR mechanisms will be promoted, obviously it will ensure that the courts are deburdened. The Nalsa, Lok Adalat, permanent Lok Adalat, etc., that government has taken various measures for this. But on the ground, the implementation of this hasn't been very successful. So there is need for a proper oversight mechanism that can look after it, that whether the implementation is happening properly or not. Also, use of technology. That let's suppose for writing a particular judgment, when it takes lot of time, so the technology can be used, some software can be used. Apart from that, there can be a proper documentation of different areas and their case laws, which the particular judge can refer at that point of time to actually decide that what were the observation of different other courts and in the different other cases. And there are need for legislative changes also. For example, there is need for updating obsolete laws, and which was done by government with the help of BNS and BNSSS also, when they have gone with, or they have removed the IPC and the CRPC. But there are various other obsolete laws which needs to be reformed, so that there can be less litigation involving or surrounding that particular obsolete laws. Also, there is need for ramping up capacity in the lower judiciary, because that is the first stage of any of the court proceeding. And if the people will be satisfied with the judgment of the district court itself, they will not file appeals in the High Court or in the Supreme Court. So there is need for ensuring that there is less delay in contract enforcement and disposal resolution, single biggest hurdle to the ease of doing business and higher GDP growth. Because there are various companies who find it very difficult, or they are reluctant in investing in India because of the litigation surrounding that. And it is the difficulty in getting a time-bound resolution of the litigation that ensures, or that leads to issues that where companies are not very finding it, they do not find it suitable to invest in India. So we need to address the contract enforcement issues, as well as the civil cases needs to be disposed in a time-bound manner. This is a mains practice question that you people can write from this topic. Moving towards our next topic, that is National Green Tribunal. The context of this topic is that the Uttar Pradesh Principal Chief Conservator of Forest on Saturday told the NGT that a company which has taken a land on lease to develop an industrial park in the Surajpur area of the Greater Noida has denied any responsibility for allegedly felling 980 trees at the plot. And this comes nearly 3 months after the NGT observed that illegal felling of the trees has not been taken seriously by Uttar Pradesh authorities, and the NGT has also asked the Principal Chief Conservator of Forest to appear virtually before the NGT on May 13. And this particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 2 statutory bodies and syllabus of your GS paper 3 environmental pollution and degradation. So NGT, which is a specialized judicial body for environmental and natural resources cases, was established by NGT Act 2010. And if you look into the history of this NGT, the genesis of the NGT can be traced back to the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, that is UNCED, which held in Rio, Brazil in 1992. So at this summit, India committed to providing the judicial and the administrative remedies to the victims of the environmental damage, the people who face the brunt of the various environmental issues. Also in Subhas Kumar versus State of Bihar 1991, it was the judicial activism in environmental jurisprudence, where the Supreme Court says that right to clean environment is part of right to life and liberty under Article 21 of the Constitution. And that is the reason this NGT as a separate judicial, quasi-judicial body was established in 2010, in 2011 after NGT Act of 2010. If you talk about the structure and the composition of the NGT, it will have a chairperson who will be appointed by the central government in consultation with the Chief Justice of India, and there will be some judicial members around 10 to 20 and expert members that will also be around 10 to 20 members, and they will be selected by a committee which will be appointed by the central government. The tenure of the chairperson as well as the members will be maximum of the 5 years or until the 65 years of age they will be achieving. There will be no reappointment of the chairperson or the members. Or then the benches, the NGT have a principal bench at New Delhi, and they also have 4 regional benches in Bhopal, Pune, Kolkata and Chennai, so that in whole India the people can have at least access to some of the benches of the NGT. If you talk about the power and the jurisdiction, the scope of the NGT, it educates the civil cases under 7 environmental laws. What are those 7 environmental laws? They are the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974, Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Cess Act 1977, Forest Conservation Act 1980, Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981, Environmental Protection Act 1986, and the Public Liability Insurance Act 1991 and Biological Diversity Act 2002. Interestingly, the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 and Forest Right Act, they are not covered under the jurisdiction of the NGT. And the NGT also have this power that they can take suo motu cognizance since 2021 to act on the environmental violations that they are being done. That if there is a report in the newspapers, so from that NGT can take suo motu cognizance. Also, it provides legal flexibility that it is not bound by the CPC of 1908 and or Indian Evidence Act 1872. It follows the principle of natural justice. There are various key principles that are applied in the functioning of the NGT. For example, sustainable development, precautionary principle, as well as the polluter pay principle, that the person who is polluting, he should be paying the money, he should be paying the loss of the damage which was done. And it was in the Samit Mehta versus Union of India where the polluter pay principle was given by the NGT. Also, this MC Beti C Alvarez versus State of Goa and others was the case where NGT said that foreign national can also approach the NGT benches. Also, the orders of the NGT are binding decisions and they are executable as the civil court decrees. And the NGT can also award compensation and the remedial measures. The appeals of the NGT, the tribunal may review its own orders, and appeals lies with the Supreme Court within the 90 days of the NGT order if the person or the party is dissatisfied. What is the significance of the NGT? That it helps in fast track justice. For example, it have cleared 78% of cases from 2019 to 23 within 1 year itself, and this is the data from NGT annual report of 2023. Also, it have the specialized expertise where the judicial and the technical members are part of this NGT, because many of the times it becomes very difficult for the Supreme Court, High Court or the district courts to decide the damage or the compensation, because they are not the person who have that experience in gauging or in checking the damage or the nitty-gritties involved in that particular case. But when the technical members are also part of this NGT, it becomes really easy for them to take the decision. And this ensures that the science-backed rulings or the orders are being given by the NGT. Also, the polluter pay principle enforcement. This, which for example, they have fined Delhi government 25 crore for the waste mismanagement in 2023. Also, illegal sand mining was banned in 2022, which has saved 200 plus water bodies. And they have also the suo motu powers. For example, they have acted against the Bangalore lake encroachment, and this was done in 2021, which actually helped in ensuring the wetlands are properly ensured, because they are kidney of our environment. So when the lake encroachment are being done, obviously we are in a way developing, or we are creating roadblocks in the natural flow of the waters that will lead to cases of the floods, etc. So the NGT acted on this lake encroachment of Bangalore. Then the global benchmark, India is only the 3rd country apart from the Australia and the New Zealand, and India is one of the developing country where there is a separate body to resolve the environmental cases. Also, it have binding orders. For example, it enforced the diesel vehicle ban in Delhi NCR in 2015, and which has actually helped in reducing the PM 2.5 levels by 20% as per the data from SAFAR. Also, it has helped in public participation in environmental jurisprudence. For example, it allowed the citizen petitions, that people who were facing some difficulty or who need some compensation because of the environmental damages which were done by the government or any of the companies, they can actually come to the NGT and they can get some relief from the NGT. And there are 30% cases which are filed by the NGOs and the activists itself in this particular NGT itself, as per the NGT annual report. But there are some issues or the concerns with regard to the functioning of the NGT. For example, there are case backlog. And one of the reason can be because of the limited benches. One principal bench plus 4 regional benches are there. And when there are less number of benches, and with the more number of economic growth and the pollution, global warming, etc. increasing, more number of cases coming in front of NGT, and which has led to high pendency of the cases. As of 2024, as per the NGT annual report 2023, more than 10,000 pending cases are before the benches of the NGT, and which delays the 6-month resolution mandate, the mandate which has been given with the NGT, that they should resolve the matter within the 6-month time. But because of this overburdening that they are facing, it becomes really difficult for them to resolve the cases within the 6-month time. Also, the limited access with the only 5 benches, 1 principal plus 4 regional benches, people find it difficult, especially for example the people who belong to northeastern states, that they find it very difficult to actually reach to these benches and get some resolutions to the environmental damages which has been done. Also, the weak enforcement, the 40% of the penalties which were levied by the NGT, they were unpaid as per, and as this has been highlighted by the CAG report, and actually this is eroding the NGT's authority. And the expert shortage, the 30% of the expert posts are lying vacant, and obviously when there are vacancies, this will also lead to slow or delay in the resolution of the cases, and the pendency of the cases will increase, and this will also lead to slow decision making on the technical cases. And again, this is the data from the NGT annual report of 23. Also, the exclusion of key environmental acts, for example, Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Forest Right Act, when all that has been kept aside the jurisdiction, there is still a significant amount of population who have concerns related to that. This acts, they find it difficult to approach appropriate authorities. Then the state dependency, that delay in the data report submission from the state authorities, they also hinder progresses. For example, let's suppose any of the lake or any of the river is being polluted. They are constantly, pollution is happening in that river. NGT is dependent on the state government reports, that the state government will give the report that which are the industries which are actually polluting, what is the amount of pollution they are doing, what are the various chemicals that they are leaving in the rivers. So this dependency further creates case backlogs, high pendency. Also, the low awareness, especially people in the rural areas, they do not have the complete idea about what exactly the NGT and the resolution that they can provide. So what should be done? How we can address this? Fast track disposal of the cases, and for this digital case management systems can be incorporated, and that can actually help in faster decision making. Then we can expand the presence of the NGT, the circuit benches, which the NGT Act also talked about, but we could not have a proper permanent circuit benches. So these circuit benches can be established around various states, that can actually help in ensuring that we are disposing cases in a time-bound manner. Also, the virtual hearings can be done to improve the access. The people who belongs to some of the rural areas or the people who are in the underdeveloped areas, they can also participate in the resolution mechanism from the NGT. Also, there is need for strengthening the enforcement mechanism, that we can create a recovery mechanism for unpaid penalty and ensure the follow-up. And for this, there can be some better authority that can be provided to the NGT by amending the NGT Act of 2010. Also, we need to fill the vacancies. We can accelerate the recruitment of the expert member with specialized environment knowledge, and whatever the vacancies they are lying, we should ensure that they are being filled in a time-bound manner. Also, the enhanced powers, we can amend laws to grant limited criminal jurisdiction for serious violations. And there is also need for improving the coordination among different agencies. For example, there are state pollution authorities. So when state pollution authorities are properly coordinating with the NGT, so that can actually help in ensuring that whatever the environmental damages that are being done, these companies are paying the penalties properly. Also, it will mandate the timelines for the state data submission for penalizing the non-compliance of the companies. Also, there is need for boosting the outreach. There is need for launching awareness drives and legal aid programs, which can actually help in ensuring the people who were facing difficulty or who have faced some environmental concerns, they can get a time-bound resolution of their issues. Also, a prelims PYQ which was asked in 2018 related to NGT and CPCB. Please tell me the answer of this question in the comment box. And this is a mains practice question that you people can write from this topic. In our simplified section, first topic is safe harbor important for social media? And this is related to your GS paper 2, executive and government policies and interventions. And this has appeared in today's The Hindu page number 14. So the context is that in a written submission to the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Communication and Information Technology, the Union Ministry of Information and Broadcasting said that it is reconsidering the concept of safe harbor for social media platforms to combat the issue of the fake news online. As of now, what happens that let's suppose on the Facebook there is a web page or a person who posted a particular fake news or any unlawful activity they are doing on the particular social media platform. So these social media platforms do not have any liability. There cannot be any criminal action that can be taken against them because there is limited control that these social media platforms have actually on these platforms. This is what is called as safe harbor, which is a legal concept that protects individual websites that allow third-party users to share content from the legal liability for any unlawful post that was done on that platform. Whereas the intermediary liability, which says that this is a concept of middleman being responsible for the third-party content, and the safe harbor protect sites by default from any criminal action for content which is hosted by them. Whereas in the intermediary liability, the platforms do have a responsibility. For example, in the case of Prime Video or Netflix, when any of the web series or movie is coming on these platforms, if they is posting the contents related to nudity, violence, etc., so they have a responsibility that age restriction should be there on those content, because they know that what is the content that is going to be posted on their platform. So they have the liability. That is the case of the intermediary liability. The section 79 of Information Technology Act 2000 grants the intermediaries similar protection, and the protections are not without condition. In India, if an intermediary receives actual knowledge of illegal content on their websites, they lose the liability protections under the section 79 if they don't work to take the content down within certain time period. And what exactly this actual knowledge means? The Supreme Court in one of the judgments said that to mean a court order or the government notification, that there was a court order that this is one of the posts that is there on your platform, remove this, or there was a government notification that this is a particular information on your platform, remove this. That will be considered a actual knowledge of the platforms. And for example, in 2004, the then head of the website eBay in India was arrested because of user listing of disk containing child sex abuse material for sale on that platform. Also, while safe harbor does not have considered conditions described above, the Information Technology, Intermediary Guidelines and Digital Media Ethics Code Rules 2021 has put in place additional conditions for platform to retain protections from the intermediary liability. Social media firms need to have a nodal officer, a grievance officer who should be resident in India, and need to periodically submit reports of complaints they receive on the content and actions that they have taken on those complaints. Different parts of IT rules have been challenged in courts in last few years. Also, the government has accused the foreign social media platforms of flouting Indian laws and acting too slowly on takedown of the notices. And the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has indicated that it would draft a Digital India Act that would incorporate these changes, but in the outlines of how Safe Harbour would change under the proposed law have yet not been revealed. Moreover, the Digital India Act draft law has been released yet. And it becomes really difficult to balance the freedom of speech and expression and taking actions on the government's request. For example, recently when the India-Pak tensions were going on, there were a lot of Twitter pages, Twitter handles who were posting fake news against India, and government of India has requested the X or the Twitter to withhold some of these accounts in India itself. And in the last few years, there was one such request where government of India requested around 8,000 handles to be withheld in India. And because there is safety concerns, there is security concerns, because these handles were peddling wrong information, fake information, and that is the reason it becomes really necessary to withhold that information to ensure the sovereignty and territorial integrity of India is intact. And this digital media intermediary guidelines, they have also identify social media. They identify first originator of the content that authorities considered anti-national. Social media platforms will identify. They will appoint grievance officer. They will resolve the complaint in 15 days. They will also file monthly compliance report on the complaints that received or actions that were taken on those complaints. When we talk about the digital news, they will follow the Press Council of India Cable TV Acts, Cable TV Networks Regulation Act norms, that what kind of content, what kind of news, the sensationalism, etc. need not to be promoted. All those regulations they should follow. Self-regulatory bodies to oversee adherence to the code of ethics. Also, the Information and Broadcasting Ministry to form the panel for oversight mechanism on these platforms. Also, for the OTT platforms, they will self-classify content. For example, in the cases of the movies that are coming in the theaters, there is CBFC that will certify, but the OTT platforms will self-classify their content into 5 age-based categories. That is U, universal, that can be watched by any age group. Then UA 7+ years, that is people who can watch above 7 years. UA 13+, 16+, and A, that is the adult category. Also, the parental lock for any content classified as UA 13+ or above, and age verification mechanism for content classified as adults needs to be done by these platforms. Next topic is that Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra ink the Memorandum of Understanding for Tapti River Recharge Project, and this is related to your GS paper 2 Cooperative Federalism, and this has appeared in today's The Hindu page number 9. So the context is that in a significant move towards the regional water security, the government of Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh has jointly implemented the Tapti Basin Mega Recharge Project, and the agreement aimed at addressing the water needs of select region in both the states, and it was finalized following a meeting of the Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra Inter-State Control Board, which this meeting happened in Bhopal, and the MOU was signed by both the Chief Minister, marking a renewed effort to harness the interstate river resources for sustainable development, and the project is third such initiative which is undertaken by Madhya Pradesh government in past years, following the Ken-Betwa link with Uttar Pradesh and the Parvati Kali Sindh Chambal project under the with the Rajasthan. Under the proposed project, water from Tapti river, which originates in Madhya Pradesh Betul district, will be diverted to cater the drinking water needs of northeastern Maharashtra, including the Nagpur area, and provide irrigation support to southern and southeastern districts of Madhya Pradesh such as Burhanpur and Khandwa. Notably, the river is known as Tapi in Maharashtra. So whether it is Tapti or Tapi, that is the same. And it is second largest west flowing river of peninsular India. You people tell me in the comment box that which is the largest west flowing river of peninsular India. And it starts in Multai in Madhya Pradesh at 752 meter of elevation, and it flows 724 kilometer before draining into Arabian Sea via Gulf of Khambat, and it covers parts of Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra as well as Gujarat. The basin area is around 65,000 square kilometer. It is bounded by Satpura, Mahadev Hills, Ajanta, Satmala as well as Arabian Sea in the western direction. It has two regions that consist of forested hills and the fertile plains. The Khandes region in Maharashtra forms the main fertile plain area of the river. The major tributaries of the Tapi or the Tapti river, the right bank are Suki, Gomai, Arunavati, Aner, and left bank are Vagur, Amravati, Buri, Panjra, Bori, Girna, Purna, Mona and Sipna. Moving towards next topic, that is Kerala, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu attains the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals in mortality ratio, says one of the reports. And this is related to your GS paper 3, inclusive growth and development, and this has appeared in The Hindu, page number 11. 3 states have attained the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals targets in maternal mortality rate or MMR, that is less than or equal to 70 by 2030. Under 5 mortality rate or U5MR, that is less than or equal to 25 by 2030. And neonatal mortality rate or NMR, that is equal to less than or equal to by 2030, according to Sample Registration System Report 2021 released by Registrar General of India, which is under the Ministry of Home Affairs. And it is, as per the report, 8 states have already attained the MMR SDG target, including Kerala, Maharashtra, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Jharkhand, Gujarat and Karnataka. 20 states and union territories have already attained the under 5 mortality rate sustainable development goal target, that is Kerala, Delhi, Tamil Nadu, Jammu and Kashmir, Maharashtra, West Bengal, Karnataka, Punjab, Telangana, Himachal and Andhra Pradesh, as well as the Gujarat. So this United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which we actually targeted to achieve by 2030, have various environmental, social and the governance goals. For example, goal 1 says that no poverty. Goal 2 talks about zero hunger. And with this mnemonic, you can remember all these goals. For example, the mnemonic is peace and justice for all guys and girls. For peace, all PEACE is taken, AND is taken. For justice, only J is taken. For FOR is completely taken, ALL completely taken, and then GS. With the help of this, all 17 sustainable development goals you can remember. In the state exams, State Public Service Commission exams, they directly asked the questions related to the specific sustainable development goals. However, this can be used well in the mains answers to substantiate your answers, to write a futuristic or optimistic conclusion in your answers. So please try to learn these sustainable development goals. Our next topic is cruise and the ballistic missile. As you would be aware of the fact that from past few days, there were tensions that were high between India and Pakistan. And India has used BrahMos, which is a cruise missile, and especially the BrahMos A version, that is air to surface version, to actually target various air bases of the Pakistan. For example, Skardu, Chaklala, Murid, Sialkot, Pasrur, Rafiki, Jakokabad, then Sukur, Bolrali. These are some of the bases which were targeted by the Indian Defence Forces. And there were various loitering munitions that were also used. Loitering munitions are the munitions which are launched, then they navigate and then they loiter around the particular target and then they attack that target. They got self-destructed at that target itself. They will explode at that target itself. So what they generally do whenever that is launched, till last moment they generally gives the data related to its movement, its maneuverability, etc. It also looks into the particular target for a brief time and then it explodes at that particular target itself. And this is what was done in targeting various terrorist locations in Muridke and various other places in the Pakistan. Apart from that, the BrahMos missile, which we have said that is a cruise missile which was launched by the Indian Defence Forces to attack various air bases, and it was also used to attack the Bahawalpur base of the terrorist groups. And this BrahMos is developed under a joint venture between Defence Research and Development Organization DRDO and India and NPOM of Russia. So this NPOM and DRDO have jointly developed this DRDO. Also, there are various places where it is clearly written that don't loiter at this place. So loiter can be defined as that there is a place where you are moving unnecessarily without any cause. So the loitering munitions generally loiter around that area where it is going to target and then it explodes at that point of time at that particular place. So what is this difference between cruise and the ballistic missile? So cruise missile like BrahMos have a low altitude, they are self-guided and they follows a relatively straight path. Whereas the ballistic missile have a high altitude ballistic trajectory that is around arc shaped, and after initial propulsion they get this trajectory. And this cruise missile have jet engine or turbojets for the sustained flight, whereas rocket engine for initial boost is used for the ballistic missiles, and then it relies on the momentum as well as the gravity of the earth. And the cruise missile have a speed of subsonic to supersonic, whereas ballistic have a speed of hypersonic speed during the re-entry phase when they are re-entering into the earth atmosphere. And cruise missile are hard to detect due to the low altitude flight, that is the low height that they generally follow, and that is the reason radar signatures are not visible. Whereas ballistic missiles are easier to detect during the boost phase due to the heat and the smoke trails that it releases. Also, cruise missile is highly maneuverable and can change course mid-flight itself, whereas the ballistic missile have limited maneuverability after the initial launch, because this is generally dependent on the momentum and the gravity of the earth itself. And the cruise have a typically short range, hundreds of the kilometer, whereas ballistic can have very long ranges, thousands of kilometers. The Mach number can be defined as the ratio of the object speed to the speed of sound. That is how much increased or high speed any particular object have as compared to the speed of sound. So hypersonic are the objects which have a Mach speed of more than 5. Then if you talk about the various missiles that India have, there are various cruise missiles that India have. For example, subsonic cruise missile Nirbhay, supersonic cruise missile BrahMos, and under the BrahMos we have different versions for Navy, Air Force as well as land, and then another version NG which was recently launched. Then the hypersonic cruise missile, that is BrahMos second, and there is air-to-air missile with the name Astra. Then we also have some surface to air missile with the name Trishul, Akash, Maitri, Barak 8, and anti-tank guided missile Nag as well as Helena, that is helicopter launched Nag missile. We have the anti-ballistic missiles, Prithvi air defense missile, advanced air defense missile and Prithvi defense vehicles. Also we have the submarine launched ballistic missiles with the name K-15 Sagarika and K-4. And then we have other short range ballistic missiles with the name Prithvi, Dhanush, Agni, Saur and Prahar, intermediate range ballistic missile Agni, and intercontinental ballistic missiles, that is Agni 5, which have a coverage of more than 5,000 kilometers and it can carry a warhead of around 1500 kilograms. So you would have heard in last few years these various defense, for example Akash air defense, then the Prithvi air defense, as well as the S-400 air defense which we have taken from the Russia. But before looking into this S-400, you people tell me the answer of this question which was asked in prelims 2024 about the ballistic missile and Agni 5 missile. And this is the one observation which I want to share with you people, that in prelims 2024 there were lot of questions that were asked from the defense section, and that is the reason the people who are giving the 25 examination as well as the people who are giving 26 examination have a good amount of focus on the defense areas also, because there may be various questions that might be asked in the prelims as well as in the mains examination. So please tell me the answer of this question in the comment box. Apart from that, you can see, as I was saying, that in the mains also they are asking questions related to the defense, that they have directly asked the question related to S-400 in mains 2021. So this S-400 is India's frontline air defense against enemy drones as well as missiles, and it is mobile surface to air defense system. It has an operational range of 400 kilometers, and one unit of this S-400 cost around $1.25 billion, and it have a deployment time of 5 minutes only, and it can detect aircraft, drones, cruise missiles as well as the ballistic missiles, and it have a surveillance range of the 360 degree. It have various different missiles, which in this batteries there are different missiles that are loaded and which will actually target the specific object which was coming in India or in Indian airspace. For example, 9M96E, 4896E2, 4896DM, 4096E, etc. These kind of missiles according to the different ranges that they have. And this S-400 is in India called as the Sudarshan Chakra. Moving towards our next topic, that is our last topic, is the commissioned rank of the India's defense forces or India's armed forces, and this is related to your GS paper 3 defense, and this has appeared in today's The Hindu page number 10. Why we have taken this topic? Because in 24 itself, as I have said, that there were too many questions from the defense section. You can see that there was a question about the terms of equivalent rank in the three services of India's defense forces. So whatever the information that was being given in last few years related to India-Pakistan tension, related to the measures that India took on Pakistan, they were being given by the Colonel Sophia Qureshi as well as Wing Commander Vyomika Singh, along with the Vikram Misri, who is the Foreign Secretary of India. However, yesterday in one of the press conference of Ministry of Defense, it was also Mr. Raghu R. Nair, who is Naval Commodore, who was also present in the Ministry of Defense press briefing. And in Indian Army, the commissioned rank start from the lieutenant, then captain, major, lieutenant colonel, colonel, brigadier, major general, lieutenant general, general and field marshal. Whereas in Indian Air Force, it starts from flying officer, flight lieutenant, squadron leader, wing commander, group captain, air commodore, air vice marshal, air chief marshal and marshal of the Air Force. Whereas in Navy, it starts from sub lieutenant, lieutenant, lieutenant commander, commander, captain, Commodore, Rear Admiral, Vice Admiral, Admiral and the Admiral of the fleet. So based on this information, please tell me the answer of this question in the comment box. And that is all from today's analyst. Thank you very much. All the very best. Keep studying.